Hey there, boils and ghouls. Welcome back to Hollow Weekly. Nick and George here with
Hello Weekly.
Hollow Weekly. We're back. We're back. We took a little while off. We're not gonna go super deep, but we took a little while off. Wanted to reformat the show, and we wanted to keep the energy strong, like we did with Sympathy of the Devil, like with the big ideas and the big concepts of what makes horror so effing just amazing.
And we didn't take that long off. It's not like we've been hibernating for years and years and years. It was like, what, 3 weeks?
3 weeks. Yeah. I wonder what that translates into podcast.
I'm calling it vacation. Oh, and podcast.
Is that a
Is this like dog years?
Yeah. I wonder if there's like 1 day is 2 weeks or something. I don't know.
It felt like 4 weeks.
It felt like 4 weeks.
So, so podcast is plus 1 day per week.
But George came up with a really fun idea that we both got super jazzed about, that takes what we like about horror and then basically just kind of shoves it into every other thing in life, kind of. Like there's nothing's off the table with this new format.
Horror is life.
Horror is life. That's what I'm saying. That should, if we didn't already have the title in place, it should just be Horror is Life.
Well, honestly, the thing is I felt like consistency was key, that you should know what you're getting when you become a listener. It's one of the things I appreciate about the things that were great, not just in horror, but like because we're about to talk about this, but I know what I'm getting at this point when Marvel puts out a movie, right?
Yep.
And I knew what I was getting when Fangoria put out a magazine, and I know what I'm getting when and that's I admire that, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, let's do it. So we came up with a sort of a format that will be pretty consistent, and you know what you're getting, and then if you like it, we're glad you're along for the ride, and if you don't like it,
exactly,
we're gonna come get you. Because horror is life, so no matter where you go,
you can't escape it.
Right?
Yeah, and with a new format,
we'll get you eventually.
And it's not topical. Sorry, it's not topical in the sense of like what happens this week.
Time sensitive.
It's not time sensitive. So if you miss an episode, like just a few podcasts that I listen to, if I start getting a backlog, I'm like, oh, I'm never getting back to that. But there's a few like
we talked about it earlier. Like if you ever gone back and watched the Jon Stewart Daily Show, it's painful. It was great at the time,
and there's no point to watch it because it's
right.
super.
They're talking about like this farm bill went down in flames, and you're like,
like what the fuck are you?
How'd that turn out? Are all the farms gone? Oh no, nothing.
No, everything doesn't.
Nothing happened. Right.
So the new format, and
Nick, by the way, is wearing a Wolverine
t-shirt. Where we wanted to really get into the theme of this. So the new format that we're going with, that you've probably seen from the title because you clicked it and you're listening, is horror versus blank. Yes. And so part of the reason we were gone, we actually, this is not a plug, we went on a Disney vacation cruise, which was dope. First, little tangent. If you haven't been on a Disney cruise, that shit is magical. Mm-hmm. I cried during dinner. That shit was so good.
Aww.
But no,
and we grabbed our fiancés because it was a celebration.
It was a celebration.
And there was birthdays
involved. We celebrated my fiance's and both of ours because we were both born in May. Mm-hmm. So it was sort of like a big birthday sort of cruise.
Right.
But on that cruise, Marvel's Infinity War has probably been in theaters for about 4 weeks now or something like that. It's crossed $2 billion. They showed it on the ship. So we watched it at the...
Which, by the way, is a badass way to see it.
Yeah.
It's really fun. And I know what everyone's thinking, like it's, it was what I was thinking going into a Disney cruise. Like, it's going to be well run. It's going to be really pro. Entertainment's probably going to be great.
Yeah.
But there's going to be kids everywhere. It's going to be annoying, right? Mm-hmm. Well, there were kids everywhere for the movie until they weren't, because they were all crying and scared.
Yeah.
And it was amazing.
When I think it's Heimdall, Idris Elba's character, gets stabbed in the first few seconds. And like on the same row as us was like 3 or 4 like little kids, and they busted out crying.
That's fantastic.
They had to leave. So it was
the right way to see it. I was waiting for one of them to just like scream, run, make a beeline, and just jump off the ship.
Yeah. Well, the other reason was it was super immersive because we were at the front of the ship and that ship was rocking.
Oh yeah,
back and
that
forth.
That was another thing.
Right?
Right, exactly.
So
Thanos made half the audience throw up.
He did. It was great.
Spoiler.
He had the sea stone. It was making a rock. So this new format is horror versus blank. So this week's episode is horror versus superheroes, superpowers.
Yep.
Just the abilities of them, and how
absolutely
how are they represented. So we had a few guidelines going on this. It has to be either in a film or a television show. There has to be some sort of...
We decided to leave print out just because it brought way too much material in.
Yeah, and with comic books, it gets real ridiculous. With horror novels, it's just too big. So we went with television or movies, and we're going to compare how superhero or superpowers are represented in horror films and in the superhero side, TV and film.
Right. And going forward, and we'll see. I mean, you guys will give us feedback, and we'll see. I think we're going to have a blast with this, so we'll see how much fun we have with it. But going forward, it's basically going to be, instead of thinking about it as a battle per se, although we are going to be picking winners, so there's that element in there. But it's all, the way we were thinking about it is, where does our favorite representation of something live, right? So, for example, telekinesis. Does my favorite representation of telekinesis in movies or TV live in the horror genre, or does it live in the mainstream non-horror genre, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times horror is going to win, but sometimes it's not, which is going to be where it gets interesting. So that's where we're going to dive in and see what we got. So let's do it.
All right. So round one, ding, ding, ding. We're going to start with the example you just gave.
Telekinesis, the ability to manipulate physical objects using the power of the mind alone.
Yes.
So we've seen it with Carrie.
Well, you see it everywhere, but let's talk about a couple of our favorite examples, because I discovered telekinesis is a pretty common ability as represented in TV and movies. Like the Wikipedia had hundreds of examples, but let's just pick out a couple favorites.
Okay, so off the top, horror side, Carrie.
Yes.
We also have Pinhead.
Yes.
And then the other side, I went with, is that a superhero Marvel film? I went with Chronicle because it's about a handful of teenagers getting telekinesis, and it's fantastic. And then also I went with, after seeing Infinity War, I went with Ebony Maw, who was the Squidward looking guy.
Right.
in Infinity War. He was great. Well, he was one of the children of Thanos.
Yes.
I think, the children of Thanos, that's what they call them. So let's dig into it.
And by the way, because this is going to come up a couple times, I'm thinking, I'm not the biggest American Horror Story fan ever, but there are two seasons that I really, really liked. I liked Asylum and I liked Coven. And I remembered that Coven had a bunch of superpower tests in it. So they were testing divination. One of them was telekinesis, like moving objects. The test they did was they were moving candles back and forth. And then there was one where they were dematerializing in different places. And it has an amazing ending. Are we covering reappearing in places, teleportation? Is that one of our abilities?
It's not, but we could add it in there because on the other side of that, we could throw in Nightcrawler from the X-Men series.
Sweet. All right. Well, we'll get to that. But anyway, I was like, you know what? Witches commonly have this ability. I mean, they're basically telekinesising themselves on brooms all the time, right? So there's some cool representations of it. But give me your arguments for or against which one is your favorite and why.
Okay, so out of the ones that I listed, if I had to put two and two up to just compare and contrast, I would go with Carrie, and I would go with actually the main kid the troubled kid in Chronicle, because they both sort of have the abusive parent.
Sure.
And how they go about their power is very similar in terms of like the parent's a piece of shit. They're dealing with all these they're dealing with being a teenager.
Right.
And but also having this incredible power where they can just destroy the world if they wanted to.
Right.
So how do they compress those feelings? And in Chronicle, they really focus on the superpower themselves. And what I like about this is where I'm going to give the first point. I'm leaning more towards Chronicle.
Yes.
Because they deal with having a superpower like telekinesis as a muscle.
This is my theory, though, is that it's like a muscle.
Watch this.
Dude! Holy crap! That's why I think we're getting stronger, you know?
So it starts out really small. They're able to move a soda can or a few pebbles.
Sure.
And if they try really hard, they get nosebleeds.
Sure.
And they're like, okay, I can't do that anymore.
Right.
So then they realize the more they train, the more they work on it, they start doing things like they go to the grocery store and they move someone's car to fuck with them.
Right.
And then it gets to the point where like they're flying in the sky and all that other stuff. And I think that representation.
So the muscle developing ability thing plays out in Carrie too. Remember, she starts with books and she does little objects, and then she plays up to whatever. But this is, you bring up a really interesting point of the favorite thing that this was. I was wondering if this was going to come up for this one. Because with a lot of superpowers, there's the element of just being able to fuck with people and pull pranks.
Yep.
Which almost never happens in horror. But I would imagine happens all the time in the superhero genre.
Yeah, a lot of silly stuff
Right.
happens over there.
So I feel like that's a good vote for why that would be your favorite, is that they have fun with it. Right. Where I don't think there's any... Carrie's
the other,
not running play.
the other thing I would add into that is the kid in Chronicle. So like with Carrie has all these feelings. It basically doesn't come until, well, she kills the mom first, and then she goes ham on the school. But you don't really know. You know she's conflicted and she's abused, and at some point in time she's gonna snap. But what I liked with Chronicle was the kid throughout it. There's a scene when there's a spider crawling across his floor in his room, and he like picks up the spider, with his mind, and it starts pulling off all the legs. And it's little things like that for the character where you're like, okay,
that's creepy.
He's going to get progressively worse. So it's sort of like when do those two characters explode and then do the bad things they're going to do?
Right.
So I'm going to lean to
Chronicle. So it's like alcohol; it heightens your bad tendencies.
Yes.
Oh, good.
And so I'm leaning towards Chronicle a little bit there.
That's fine.
Until it comes to the finales.
I see where you're
of when
right.
you snap and you have this power.
Right.
I think Carrie takes the lead there.
Yeah.
Because they have Michael B. Jordan's in it, and I think he gets zapped by lightning when they're in the sky. And so it's him versus the other main kid. There's like 3 or 4 kids. They have like a big battle, and like there's police surrounding him, and it's actually pretty cool. And then they take like a statue that has like this like spear looking thing, and he makes the kid go through it or whatever. And that's cool.
Sure.
I like that. And then the kid at the end, he like flies off to like this Buddhist temple to like meditate and learn how to control his power. That's cool. But
not destroying your prom goal.
But not as cool as destroying your prom. I love Carrie getting to her wit's end because of how shit her life is, and everyone's kicking her when she's down. And I love just her being able to be like, you know what?
What do you think about the lack of explanation of Carrie's power? Because it's never explained why she has it, really.
And so that's where these two films differ. One doesn't mention anything. One
they really dive into it, right?
And both have the pros and cons of it. One, I kind of like the ambiguity of it,
sure,
and not knowing much about it,
right?
Because then that makes Carrie a lot scarier,
right?
You don't know what she can do,
right?
Meanwhile, you know what all these kids can do,
and you don't know why she can do what she can do, right? So that's that. Yeah, my vote's for Carrie out of those two examples, but I can totally see like why the other one resonates. It's just. I really like the lack of explanation for it, and I like the finale. Obviously, is really interesting, but I also like how it doesn't line up exactly. So I feel like with superheroes, a lot of the time, what their power is sort of a metaphor or analogy for what they actually are, right? So like Superman like is the best representation of a human being, even though he's not a human being, which is hilarious, right? But he's like packed with all the virtues that you would give a person.
It's kind of like a little Jesus, though,
right? Exactly, right? So, but the fact that he has so many powers is analogous to the fact that he has so many virtues, right? So it lines up with the character, right? Carrie is sort of cursed with her quote unquote gift. I mean, even calling it a gift explains my point. Like you can't call it a gift; it's a gift curse, right? So
yeah, well, depending on who
it's
gets
more
it.
curse, right, than gift. Right? So I really like how it sort of lives as its own ability and doesn't line up exactly even with the person who has it. Like you could be like she's tortured and suppressed, and then all that rage bursts out, and that's why she has the ability, and you can say that lines up. But I don't even think of Carrie as really that angry a person. Like
no,
right? She's only angry at when she snaps.
Yeah, when you push her there, because it
right.
takes a lot.
Right.
Her.
So it's sort of like the Hulk, which we're going to get to him.
Yeah.
Right. So, but because of that, and because I have a soft spot for the Hulk, and I feel like those are similar. She gets my vote in this one,
and so that brings me to his name. I'm gonna just keep referring to him as Squidward, Ebony Maw. I liked the fight between Ebony Maw and Doctor Strange in the beginning of Infinity War.
Yes,
because I always think of Doctor Strange as like he's the Sorcerer Supreme. And I've had plenty of conversations with my friends of like, who could beat the Flash? I don't know. My one friend's like, maybe Doctor Strange, because he controls time. And we were like, wow, he's super powered. And then seeing him get whooped by someone with like telekinesis in Infinity War was great.
Well, that's another thing, and this is going to come up throughout the whole thing, I think, because this is one thing that I noticed lining up horror superpowers versus not, is the creativity and the use of them.
Yes.
And Squidward was pretty damn creative.
When he brought up the bricks and then he morphed them into little spears, I loved that.
Right. And there's style points to that, right?
Yes.
Now, we have Magneto coming later for a very specific example, I think.
Yes.
So we're not counting him here, but that's the first thing that popped in my head when I thought of like the creativity of making objects do like those things. But here's the thing. So the drawback of the horror telekinesis side, like, is definitely played by Pinhead, right? So like, I just want to give a Pinhead like a quick mention because he has all kinds of superpowers. Basically, he's not limited to just one, right? He would have a whole bunch of trouble fighting Magneto. I have a feeling.
Yeah, he brings out them hooks. Magneto's like fucked up, dude.
Right. we don't need the hooks to be the nails themselves are going to be a fucking problem, right? But there, if you remember in Hellraiser 2, in Hellbound, when he's fighting Channer, or however you say the guy's name, he sends a whole bunch of chains at him, and then Channer just basically pulls out big scissors and cuts him. So, like, if you can defeat your telekinesis with, like, scissors,
then you're...
like that's not that's not your most substantial power, right?
No.
So I found that power kind of comical in that sense. Pinhead's scary AF, but it's not like that particular element of it. It's iconic and it's super cool looking, but I don't think it's that practical in terms of battle technology.
No.
So I got to give him the pass on that one, but I'm still going for Carrie as my final vote on this one.
All right, so my final vote, I'm gonna go with, I think Carrie's blow up of giving telekinesis to a damaged character is better because it's just an iconic scene. Like if I like that stare to the door is better than the ending of Chronicle.
Yeah, and the underappreciated remake of Carrie, which is not as bad as people say.
Yeah, we did that for How Low Can We Go?
Right,
It was really good.
But well, yeah, I mean, it's not Brian De Palma, right? But it's pretty good. But the prom scene, although it's not as, the way it's executed and shot isn't as good as the original, but there are moments where, especially after you get out of prom, and I love when she holds the car in midair. Yeah. And that was another telekinesis thing. Because remember, we're talking about, this is sort of a prank, but it's an evil prank. Like, she holds the car up in the air, and there's this great moment where the girl in the car is gunning it, because she still wants to run Carrie down, but she's floating in mid-fucking air, but she's such a psychopath, she's still trying to kill her. And Carrie kills her with her own momentum. That's how I picture myself, like, in a physical fight. Yeah. I'm not going to beat you unless I use your own momentum against you and, like, whatever. So, like, that's the thing is she lets go, and the car just goes straight into the gas pump. And remember the windshield? Like, that's a great shot, right? So there's creativity in that I think is pretty amazing.
Yeah. I think... But we're doing representation.
We are doing representation.
Representation, and both of those are great.
But
both
you
of those
like
are
Chronicles.
That's fine. Both of those are Carrie.
Right.
So I'm gonna have to give it to, and it's a little lopsided because it's a superhero thing, but I'm gonna go with the superheroes on this one.
Fair enough.
All right. Go with this one. Plus, what Doctor Strange wouldn't give the eye, I can't say the eye of a whatever it is, the time stone.
Right.
To the guy, he had that really cool line of like, it's a simple spell, and he had, I think the line was like, "That I'll take it off your corpse." I loved that.
That was great. That was awesome.
That was fine. So I'm gonna go there. So
okay, cool.
So it's 1-1. All right. So actually, next is metal, and this one I can tell you I think I know we're both gonna go on this.
All right, go for it.
So metal for controlling controlling metal. Yeah, that's it. Plain and simple. We have the tall man with the spheres.
The Sentinel Spears.
With the Sentinel Spears.
Yep.
And then the only superhero we need to talk about. I was thinking about maybe putting Colossus in there because he is made of like the metal or whatever. Right. But we're just going to keep it simple. It's got to go with Magneto.
Yeah, let's keep it simple. Right.
On that one.
Yep.
Representation of films. Phantasms. We have the Sentinel Spears, which are scary and great, and they make that cool noise. Mm-hmm. But then you got Magneto.
Right. All right. So I'll kick this one off. So for this, I mean, this is kind of a subcategory, so we don't need to talk that long about this because this basically is telekinesis. And to be honest with you, it might just be an accident that the Sentinel Spears are made out of metal. Like I can picture a universe where the tall man, Like, put him in an Army of Darkness situation, and he's back, and I could see him with some evil wood flying shit or like whatever, right?
Stuff, yeah.
So it's not like Magneto had to be metal, but Tall Man didn't. So this is sort of maybe like a fake fight. But if you just take these two, so I think that the Tall Man to me is more iconic and more unique.
In the horror film.
Than Magneto. Just and my argument for this will be, and more mythological. And my argument for this is basically that I feel like the Tall Man occupies a really unique space in terms of the lines he says, the universe that he kind of goes in and out of, and the fact that he represents something larger than Magneto. So Magneto, backstory aside for a second, Magneto basically represents someone who, well, forget the backstory, like whatever, it doesn't matter. But Magneto, when you think of him, he manipulates metal. The Tall Man represents death. That's bigger, right? So I feel like the Tall Man is more iconic. And the fact that I don't think there'll ever be another Tall Man besides Angus Scrimm, he's irreplaceable, whereas multiple people can play Magneto. So
that's right, because we're doing representation.
Right,
right.
Yeah, so that kind of works in the thing. But the funny thing is, when it comes to the manipulation of metal, if we're just talking about the superpower and not the whatever, I have to give it to Magneto, honestly.
They wish to cure us, but I say to you, we are the cure. The cure for that infirm, imperfect condition called Homo sapiens.
And the reason I have to give it to Magneto is because there's so much more he can do with it. There's so much more creativity. And it's so much more impressive the way he does it. The Sentinel Spheres, by the time we got to Ravager or whatever, I felt they were kind of played out. Like they were making them like the size of planets because they had nowhere else to go with them. Right. So that concept isn't whatever, but the creativity with which I was watching and just the style points for pick up the Golden Gate Bridge, and then land it where you want to walk.
Yeah.
It's just badass as hell. His escape from the plastic jail scene is just it's an amazing moment. And when you realize the creativity it takes to have the disc form and he stands on it and he kind of this magic carpets that shit, that is amazing to me. But here's the secret undercurrent to this is I don't feel like I'm ever going to give not horror the win if the not horror side is absolutely zero scary, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like it's got to have some scary element to it. If it doesn't have a scary element to it, I feel like it's always going to lose to the horror side for any episode we do, right? But I feel like the way Magneto does it is ominous and scary enough, to be dark enough to put it on a plane with. So in this one, I feel like Tall Man's more iconic, represents a bigger idea, and I love that he's irreplaceable. But in terms of just the ability of metal manipulation, I give it to Magneto.
I don't even need to say anything else. Yeah, I'm going straight with Magneto. That's not even...
There's nothing to fight about it now.
That's not even fair. Okay, so this one is interesting. And I think I know where I'm going to go with this one. So this one is... We're going to call these ones... it's like a fire starter.
Pyrokinesis?
Pyrokinesis.
Okay.
That is what we'll call it. So on the one side, I think his name's Diablo. He was on the Suicide Squad.
Yes.
And then Human Torch with Fantastic Four.
Yep.
Then on the other side, we have Drew Barrymore's Firestarter. And what's funny is
speaking of nosebleeds, when you use an ability, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Remember her father gets the... Because he's got the mind push.
And even 11 in Stranger Things, the nosebleed.
Yep.
Everyone's nose just bleeds when you think too hard. This one, I think, just to get it out of the way, I think I'm definitely leaning towards Firestarter on this one.
Sure.
No one wants to hurt you or your daddy.
You liar. You're supposed to kill him, and I know it.
I'd advise you do what my daughter says. I mean, you know why she's wanted. Remember the soldier at the airport?
One, because Suicide Squad was hot garbage, and the two Fantastic Four films I never got into.
Right.
and I love the Human Torch.
Sure.
I think he's great. And I remember when
if we're sticking to movies and TV, and you're taking out the comic, then right.
Exactly, because what's funny is I was about to go on how I read, I think it was like the series where Captain America goes back in time, and it's like him and Namor and the Human Torch. I was like, I like that, but we're taking that out, so I can't use those. And then the Fantastic Four reboot, where Michael B. Jordan was in it. That film was also kind of hot garbage,
right?
And it didn't really focus on the fire ability.
Sure.
And in Suicide Squad, they kind of do like a few things with fire, but then that's it.
Right.
So Firestarter.
Well, it's funny because they carried that character. So he didn't want to use his power, and then he used it at an opportune moment and just laid waste to everything, and then everyone was super impressed. It's got the same pace of the Carrie Prom sequence, right? But clumsy and not emotionally satisfying.
Yeah. What Firestarter does is actually kind of takes our first one. It almost sort of combines Carrie with Chronicle.
Right.
It shows the father being like, don't get upset, don't freak out, don't use it, because she doesn't understand. And that's what I love is there's that point in time in the film where Drew Barrymore doesn't quite understand what the power means. And I love seeing the character learn. Plus, you also have Michael Sheen and George C. Scott.
Yeah, which is amazing, right? But in terms of like the specific representation elements, so one of the things that's interesting is putting that power in the hands of a child.
Yes.
Right. So that automatically, to me, that's a gamble as a creator. Like Stephen King was really nervous when he wrote Pet Sematary. He said he literally put it in a drawer and he was like, it's too scary. No one's going to want to read it. It's too grim. Right. Yeah. Because when you start running kids over trucks, like whatever, it gets really dark really fast. Right. So their lives are Drew Barrymore and her father's life. Their lives are tragic. And it's seeing that happen to someone, even though Drew Barrymore clearly has an old soul, right? She seemed like, 12 going on 40, but which is just a testament to her acting. But the fact that it's in the hands of a child and the father's trying to guide her, but he's not going to have time to like teach her all the things he needs to teach her. And he also is suffering while he's doing it. All of that really makes it interesting and complicated.
Yeah.
It's rich, right? Which I think is points for Firestarter. In terms of the actual ability itself, one of the things that I really liked is that they confined that power in a space. My favorite fire scene in Firestarter isn't the scene where she goes nuts at the end and takes everyone down.
Yeah.
It's when they've got her like a lab rat and they're testing her.
Oh yeah.
And she blows up the brick wall there and she's because the coolest thing is that she's like throwing the power out and trying not to get it to ricochet back, right? So she's trying to figure out how this ability works and whatever. And just the reactions of the people in the room when they realize that she's a weapon that they might be able to manipulate that's powerful, that gives it such an interesting twist. Because let's be honest, one of the things that's really cool about horror is that it's a catharsis, right? So like when you come out of a horror movie, whatever anxieties you had during your day, like I forgot to pay my rent or like whatever, now you just watch people like get, put into saw traps and you're like, well, at least that didn't happen to me, right? Like it's a release, it's a catharsis, right? But with Firestarter, she blows up the brick wall and you have this release like, man, I wish I could do that. And then all the people around her are like, that's so cool. And you're like, oh wait, why is that so cool? Oh shit, they're manipulating her to whatever. So it takes it and makes it more interesting. So I'm totally giving a vote for that.
Yeah, I was trying to think of like what's the and honestly with this with the fire ability, the first thing I always think of is Marvel and superheroes and other stuff. So I was like, there's a no brainer. It's going over here.
Right.
And the only other scene I could think of was in X-Men when Iceman goes up against Pyro. And there's that really cool scene where the ice blast and the fire blast are going at each other and they have the back and forth.
Yep.
It's like typical, like sort of like nerd fight where like the beam, like the Harry Potter, where like the beam goes over here. The thing goes over here. But even that, it's only cool because we have Iceman.
Right.
Other than that,
right.
It's not that.
And by my own criteria, there's to me anyway, there's zero fear element in the non-horror fire people. Like when in Suicide Squad, when he was ramping up to let the fire loose, it wasn't like I was like, oh wow, he's gonna torch all these sub characters I don't give a shit about. And then even when he ramped it up, like honestly, I wasn't even scared of that dude. I feel like I could walk. I feel like if he walked up to me and was like, you owe me $100 and you haven't paid me and now I'm mad. I'd be like, so what?
Yeah,
like I know you can torch me, but like you're still, he's just not impressive. So
I would make that transaction go down at a Yankee Candle. Just so I'm gonna give it to Firestarter.
Yeah, all right.
That's a no.
Fair enough.
That's one I thought was gonna go to superheroes, but at the end of the day, Firestarter just took that ability and made it interesting.
All right, can we go slightly out of order? I just want to say
Absolutely.
a small one because I think we're going to knock it out. So I don't know if you have it on there or not, but I just wanted to do a specific, real quick one on weather manipulation.
Yes.
Okay. So with weather manipulation, on the non-horror side, you've got what?
Storm.
That's all you got, right? I mean, is there more?
I know there's more because there's a billion comic book characters,
but in terms of major movie, TV,
I would say Storm is the front runner.
Awesome. And then so in the horror side, what do you have?
So from what we've discussed,
Yes.
is you have like the fog.
You have the pirates from the fog
Pirates
or
of the Fog.
whatever they're causing, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
The mist, which is the mist is an interesting case because it's not I don't know it looks like it's just a byproduct
Yeah, like that portal
of it
to the dimensions opened up and
Yeah,
just pulled
exactly.
out.
But remember, there's this one X-Files episode with Jack Black that I mentioned a couple
that's
times.
right.
that
I watched
love.
that because
Did you?
yeah.
That I love this one where they play the song "Hey Man, Nice Shot" and he just strikes the guy down with lightning. He kills Jack Black, which is absolutely amazing. Whatever. So I went back and I revisited some of the storm scenes as the way they were the way they were kind of portrayed. How do you feel about Storm as a character?
She's like in the comics. She's like one of like the Omega powered or whatever you call it, like overpowered. She's overpowered, really, because she can control all the weather. In the comics, she's also married to the Black Panther, which is dope. And honestly, I didn't read a lot of X-Men, but we're talking about the films. Duh. In the films, I love Halle Berry.
Sure.
Her Storm was cool. They didn't make her like stupid overpowered like she is in the comics.
But she could do a lot. She
had
a lot of variety to what she was doing.
Yeah, she had a lot in the inventory to fuck some people up. Overall, I thought she was cool. It's just those films for me personally kind of dated a little bit.
Yes,
it's not her. I don't know. I think they could have. I don't know. Overall, I'm just gonna have to go with
not that impressive.
Not that impressive.
Yeah, that's the thing is, so the fear element is there. I think the way that they portrayed her bringing down some of that weather shit was actually authentically scary, and there were some cool, really impressive,
like when her
shots.
eyes go white.
I love that effect.
Yeah.
And then there's some really cool shots with, like, there's one where she's summoning lightning from above the Statue of Liberty, and the camera pans up, and it's just like,
oh yeah.
There's some impressive portrayals of that. So I think that's amazing. But I think horror movies are built so much on atmosphere. Yeah. I mean, even honestly, I think there's portrayals of Dracula where he basically controls the weather. Like the weather speeds up or, storms roll in or what have you. But I just can't, I can't get past how, as a kid, one of the horror movies that I clearly remember that grabbed me and I couldn't get out of my head was The Fog. And that whole scenario was, even though they're not so much controlling it, like that was that atmosphere, just the atmosphere element. Like Storm is just a piece in the puzzle of doing abilities, but like there are some horror movies that live or die whether if the atmosphere is in or taken out, right? So I'm giving horror the points on this one, but not to a specific.
The whole time
characters.
I was trying to think of like what I thought of Storm in the X-Men films. The only thing I could think of was how she should have had more screen time. She's a cool character.
She's a cool character.
Instead, they did the Cyclops, Jean Grey, Wolverine thing, and meanwhile you have Storm.
Right.
Like, come on, man.
Right?
Do the right thing.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to go with horror on this one. I think hopefully Fox gives the X-Men over to Marvel and they can actually make Storm like cool like they did with some other characters,
or at least show it more.
Yeah, at least show it more. So for this one, I'm gonna have to go with horror.
What's next?
All right, so next we have, this is a fun one, self-healing.
Oh yeah, explain this one to me a little bit.
So self-regeneration, whatever you want to call it.
Who does it on the non-horror side?
Non-horror side in the films that we've seen, And I know there's been a few, but the two that I'm going to go with that are obvious choices because it's whenever you talk about these characters, it's always their superpowers blank and they can self-regen.
Right.
Would be Wolverine. That's like the staple. That's like the staple of Wolverine. And then along with that, I'm going to go with Deadpool.
Fair enough. Okay.
So those are the two.
So like Superman doesn't regenerate because he never gets damaged, right? That's the distinction.
Yeah, he's like pretty invulnerable unless you do the whole kryptonite kind of.
Right. Okay.
And then there's but like what sucks is with self regeneration, like it's almost like every hero has it. Like they'll be like, if Hulk gets really mad, he can self-regen.
Right.
And the Flash, everything moves so quick.
That's okay. We don't need to go through a whole list of everyone that does it. We just got to pick our favorites from each side. So your favorites are Wolverine and Deadpool.
Yeah, because even in the first X-Men film, like they show that right away as Wolverine's. Totally. He has like this. The car crash happens and like the scar on his forehead like sews up by itself. And that was pretty cool. And then Deadpool, they show that he just nothing can happen to him.
And what's your favorite horror representations of self?
You know what I was thinking, like what are some characters where we don't see them self regenerate, but they sort of do. So I was trying to think, like, does Jason self regenerate? Because he doesn't, or is that a Superman thing where nothing bad happens?
No, I think Jason self regenerates in between movies.
Yeah.
Due to finances.
So the first thing that came to my mind was, and this is a little bit different. So with Wolverine and Deadpool, it's just part of their body. Like they just do it.
Right.
But the one thing that I thought was really cool was in The Mummy, when Imhotep comes back and he's harvesting. Like, so he's sort of self-regenerating. It's not, he has to take something from someone, so it's not exactly the same.
Sure.
But I think in terms of horror, I thought that was the coolest. Hey, I'm reconstructing my body back to 100%.
Right. Yes. Okay, fair enough. My favorite as soon as you said self-regenerating, the first thing that popped in my head on the horror side was Christine.
Yes, which is cool.
And I think Christine is my favorite representation of self-regeneration. Now, there's a couple cheat codes involved on Christine's side. First of all, she self-regenerates a lot of times with music involved. Yes. Which is just such a great flair touch for what's happening to her. But it's also the way it was filmed. I feel like John Carpenter has this magic touch where he does things that could be cheesy if other directors do it. Yeah. But because he puts the camera in exactly the right spot with exactly the right music playing, with the actors doing exactly the right things, it's not, right? So like just playing film backwards and having a car that got mashed, have the film just run backwards, right? That's the joke, right? Like I saw someone post online, like if you play Godzilla backwards, it's about a friendly reptile who heals cities. And so like John Carpenter just crushed a car and then played it backwards. That shouldn't be impressive. Yeah. But when you think about the Christine Show Me scene and she regenerates, like just the headlights coming up and the character standing right across from her, like show me, and then her doing it, and the saxophone, like seductive music playing like they're a couple, like all of that shit is just so good. Like I can't. It's just a great example.
The other horror side of self-regeneration that I would go with would be after the Wolfman gets blown up in the Monster Squad.
Oh yeah,
because basically he just flies all over the place, and then his arm slides and his torso slides.
Anyone who can regenerate their nards is.
That's what I thought. That's good. That's what I thought. So then, for me, the better representation discussion then comes down to where do I think it's most effective. So, like in the Monster Squad, they have the big buildup of how do you kill a werewolf, silver bullet, kick him in the nards, and all this other stuff. But before they shoot him, they put the TNT in his trousers and kick him out the window. Right. But with X-Men, Wolverine, one of the very first things you see of the character is him self-regenerating. So then okay, he's fine. He can get shot in the head and all this other stuff. Doesn't even matter. So where does the impact hit the most in these two films or in those films?
So the point I would give to the non-horror side in this case is, and I was really impressed, especially with Logan. Yeah. I was really impressed with how complicated they make. So self-regeneration doesn't mean it's not painful, and doesn't mean it doesn't take a toll. And a lot of these stories, whether it's horror or superpower, one of the things that horror and superhero genre have in common is they like to show you what a toll it takes to live this life.
Yeah.
Right. So like with horror, it's the classic thing. Like remember Bram Stoker's Dracula when Keanu Reeves shows up and all of a sudden his hair's jet white because fighting Draculas have this impact on him. Right. So there's an impact to having these powers with great power comes. so I can't even say it without getting sick. So the thing is that there's a cost that's reckoned up for both Deadpool and Wolverine that I think is really impressive. It's not like Christine is showing you that she's in pain when she's getting
she's just
run over
blown
with a
back
bulldozer
up,
or whatever. She might, who knows, but like it's not, the thing. So I would give points to the non-horror side for probably a better, which is weird because you think given horror especially, you think it would be doing pain better, but I can't remember someone in horror regenerating and really reckoning up the cost for doing it. I think they do a better job in the superhero realm, but I'm still voting for Christine just because of all the side elements of how well it's done, the flair that it's done with, and the fact that it's kind of there's a teamwork thing going on that I find really pleasing in the Christine, setup, which is she sort of represents like the evil spirit of the guy who owned her before Arnie. And then who knows how far that goes back? Because I figure that's the cool part is I feel like there's like a medieval version of Christine. There's like a chariot out there somewhere that just like would come up out of the ground and just slash people's ankles and do like all kinds of crazy shit, right? Like it just represents this eternal principle of technology with its own mind, a la Maximum Overdrive thing. So I like that part of it.
Well, the other thing with Deadpool is his whole thing is he had some sort of cancer that was eating him up.
Yes.
So he went through like the same super soldier program that Wolverine went through, and I think in the comics lore, that's where Captain America came from.
Right.
So the reason he looks so fucked up is because the cancer's constantly eating him, but he's constantly healing.
Yes.
And I think for that, and I also forgot about I forgot about Logan's too, showing the toll. I'm gonna have to give it for best representation. I'm gonna give it to the superheroes, but I think horror has a better punch in the gut when it comes to regeneration. When Christine goes back into form, and when the Wolfman stands back up after getting blown up, that is more of a oh shit, we fucked up type of moment. So I think horror does it better in terms of like.
But your favorite is in the superhero side.
Yeah,
fair enough.
I'm gonna go.
That one's so close that I can't.
it depends on what I mean. Either one of those points can go either way. So like when the wolf,
and I think when you add up Logan and Deadpool movies, you have more good celluloid than just Christine. And I can't think of a lot of, there's a lot of ones where they regenerate, where things come back to them like zombies and their hands crawl back and reattach and all kinds of like whatever. But it doesn't jump into my head as an iconic as like a Wolverine or a Deadpool. So I definitely,
they own that feeling or that superpower. Man, that was a tough one though.
That is a tough one.
That is a tough one. All right, so here's a great one that I'm excited to get into. So this one we're calling it Anger Transformation.
I love this one.
So this one is, and it's funny because the comic book site is based very much on the what we're going to be arguing. So this is the Jekyll and Hyde versus the Hulk.
Yes.
Dr. Jekyll? Dr. J?
My name is Mr.Hyde!
You go ahead.
That's the thing. I have to keep constantly reminding myself that like comics are not in this. So we have to go purely based off of.
Right.
So if I had,
there's been a lot of weird Hulk representations on the screen.
Yeah.
Both,
so there was
large
Ang
and
Lee,
small.
there was Lou Ferrigno as the Hulk, which I'm not even going to count,
Right.
Because I didn't watch it.
Right.
Then there's Ang Lee's Hulk, which I did watch. But I don't know what happens. I watched it a lot as a kid. I even played the game on GameCube, and I still can't tell you what happens. There's the Edward Norton Hulk, which I think was like 2008 or something like that, which I actually liked when it came out. But I don't count that either.
Right.
So I'm gonna base this one off of Mark Ruffalo's character. And honestly, if we had done this episode before Thor Ragnarok,
right,
I think I would have easily been like Jekyll and Hyde.
Or Infinity War, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But after Thor Ragnarok and Infinity War, they actually gave Hulk like a good, and Bruce Banner, enough screen time to actually make us care about these two characters and showing their eternal conflict. But, and I'm going to actually include this for this one. I'm going to include the music from the Jekyll and Hyde musical. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's cheating or not.
No, it's fine.
But I think it's
all representation.
I think it is some sort of representation that's not in a book or comic medium.
For sure.
And when I listen to
that's our superpower. We do what we want.
Yeah, exactly. But in the song Confrontation, where Jekyll and Hyde finally like meet each other, and they get off on the wrong foot immediately.
right. As you'd imagine.
Right. I think it gives me chills just thinking about that scene. Which
totally.
As much as I love Hulk and Bruce Banner's banter, especially in Infinity War when Hulk won't come out, I absolutely love that.
Which is great.
And I want to vote for that 100%.
Sure.
But there's just something about like having pure evil intentions inside of you, and you trying to fight that is just.
Yeah, this is a really hard one for me. If we were including literature, obviously there's no, because I love the book, the Robert Louis Stevenson book, Jekyll and Hyde. But even just putting in the movies, so like at the worst end is fucking Russell Crowe, who can that portrayal can just go.
Put that next to the Ang Lee.
Yeah, that almost makes me vote against it just because that exists. But whatever, we'll put that aside for a second. But you have amazing representations of Jekyll and Hyde. You have the Mamoulian movie. You have classic representations of Jekyll and Hyde. And so let's talk about just a logistical thing for a second, because I was wondering if this would come up, and I feel like this is the natural place for it to come up, which is there's set pieces to certain things.
Yeah.
Right? In horror or whatnot. Like, I feel like one of the things that's almost obligatory in representation of superpowers is the origin story, right? Like, you can get away with horror without an origin story. A lot of times if you have an origin story, it makes it worse, right?
Yeah.
But there's almost no way, there's no way I can think of. I can't think of a major superhero character that was represented in film or TV to any extent in multiple, projects or whatever that didn't have an origin story fleshed out. That just has to be there, right?
Yeah.
You can't have a werewolf movie without transformations.
No.
Right? And you can't have a Jekyll and Hyde without transformations. And the transformation thing is so thrilling, like, just to see how they're going to execute it. Like, if someone tells me a Jekyll and Hyde movie is coming out, I'm just like, oh, I can't wait to see how they're going to do the change. Right? Like, how are they going to make Hyde come out, right? So the fact that is just this, like, built-in thrill thing. It's like buying a ticket to a park and knowing that it's got the world's tallest roller coaster in it.
Yeah.
It's just there waiting for you for that, for that part. That all being said, I gotta say that I'm gonna make this one a tie. Like, my vote is a tie, because I think that they have done.
I didn't know we could do that.
I think. All right.
No. Go with the tie.
All right. If you put a gun to my head.
No.
I would go Jekyll and Hyde, but I think this is a tie, and the only reason I would almost call it a tie is because you got to give people points for what they're working with. So Jekyll and Hyde comes from a genius writer based on a genius metaphor that you can apply to almost anything, right? Like, I have a Jekyll and Hyde dog, for God's sakes. Like, sometimes he's in a good mood, sometimes he's in a bad mood. Like, it's,
And how many coffee meetings have there been in LA when they're talking about a script and they go, it's about the duality of man.
Exactly. And Hulk is ridiculous. It's an inherently ridiculous concept.
Yeah.
Putting these two up against each other is like, it's like putting Psycho up against Killer Clowns or something. It almost doesn't make sense because the Hulk concept is inherently ludicrous. He turns into they joke about it all the time that it's ludicrous. Even when they're doing it, it's ludicrous. But they have done such a good job of fleshing it out and making it more and more interesting as the projects go.
Yeah.
And then by the time I got to Thor Ragnarok and then Infinity War, I was so sold on this portrayal that I was
and the fact they don't even have the rights to it, because I think Universal still owns it.
Right.
They could only use Hulk as a secondary character.
It's amazing.
And they're still doing that.
It's just amazing to me. I think they've done a really good job of it's like you put someone 200 yards back from the starting line and they still finish the race in at least tied for first. And even if they're like just slightly behind, Like
It's
they
still
they
impressive.
started way behind. Like Jekyll
Yeah.
and Hyde is a genius concept, you know. And the Hulk is the guy who gets big and green when he gets mad. It's absurd, and it still has been portrayed really, really well. So I give this one. I think Jekyll and Hyde is a more complicated, more interesting concept when taken. But when you add in what they're working with, I feel like the Hulk fought his way to a tie.
Yeah, and with that said, I think I would go. There hasn't been a Jekyll and Hyde film that I really cared about, like
Sure.
where I'm like, oh
The
man,
one from the 40s that was that John Towson, the guy we interviewed on a previous podcast, had said was his favorite underappreciated Universal film, is probably the best representation of it, and it's amazing. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. It's that Jekyll and Hyde movie is better than any movie I've seen with Hulk in it. Like if we're just talking movies, it's better, right?
Yeah.
But the Hulk has been across different platforms. And there's never been a Russell Crowe Hulk, so whatever.
yeah.
He really fucked up that Jekyll and Hyde concept. I can't.
What I liked about the Hulk representation, especially at Infinity War, is it's the first time we actually saw like Hulk be like, no,
Yeah, right.
I don't want to do
Yeah,
this.
Mr. Hyde doesn't refuse to come out.
Yeah, and I think that makes the character a little bit more interesting because the one time, Bruce wants the Hulk to come out, he's like, no, I got my ass whooped. I don't want that again. So you have to figure out yourself.
Yeah, they figured out a twist to a centuries old
Yep.
story, and I think it's
very entertaining.
I can't give you less than a tie just for that.
Yeah, so I'll go with Hulk on this.
Okay,
one.
cool.
I'll go with Hulk on this one. All right, so now we have this one. I think I know where I'm going to go on this one. AI.
Okay.
Artificial intelligence.
This one's hard.
Yeah. So we were talking about, like, do we consider a HAL in there for this one?
Well, remember, so this is the thing that I feel like, and this is, I don't know how I'm going to vote because I don't even know if this is a real category, because my theory, after thinking about it, is that once you insert AI into something, it automatically makes it not horror mostly. I know I don't like the horror, not horror argument, but it's, I can't think of a horror AI that I could comfortably be like, that should represent AI and horror.
Yeah,
right?
so the closest one I could get to.
Yes.
And I would go with Ex Machina
Sure.
versus, and I would go with either Ultron for the second Avengers film or the Vision, who I guess first appears in the second Avengers film and makes his appearance throughout. If I had to go with best representation of AI, it's so funny because Tony Stark is like a Elon Musk, like Tesla, sort of like I could see that happening, but I also see the Ex Machina main guy, like the rich guy, is the guy there. I can also see AI going that route.
Sure.
It'd be very fucked up.
Sure.
But if I had to go with, like, I don't know, there was something about Ex Machina that I think it's for the reason we gave it points to the Hulk in terms of caring more. I'm going to give the points of caring more towards Ex Machina.
That makes sense. I mean, it's definitely less, it's more thoughtful and less obviously entertainment. So I get that. I mean, I think the best depiction of AI in any genre is HAL. So, but I can't put it in horror. So that's the thing is I'm trying to find, we talked about Skynet, right?
Yeah. Oh, and Terminator.
And Terminator and
right.
maybe that's close to horror. Terminator and Ex Machina, like they're on the fringes, whatever.
They would have to be the representation.
Totally. And I have a soft spot in my heart for something called Colossus, the Forbin Project, which is a horrifying movie, but is definitely sci-fi. But I think in terms of, all right, so when you think through the AI element, are we also including like Alien? The Michael Fassbender's David and Walter characters, those are definitely scary, and they're definitely in what is considered to be kind of a sci-fi horror franchise, right? And when I think about those representations, I really like a lot of what they did in Prometheus and Covenant. I think the AI elements in Prometheus and Covenant are my favorite parts of the movies.
Yeah.
The xenomorphs kind of fall away. And the AI elements become the more interesting, parts.
Yeah.
So if I had to pick like the banner carrier for AI and horror, I almost got to go with Alien.
Yeah.
And if I'm going with Alien, I mean, it's just going to lose. Everything's going to lose to Hal, so whatever.
So then
But Hal's not a superhero.
Yeah, and so the superhero side would inevitably fail for us. Because I would give it to the horror side. If we were going to go with Ex Machina and Terminator, I would say the way they portray it's really good. As much as I love Vision and Ultron, it's definitely like super heightened. And
Yes.
and I like basing those two a little bit more in reality, where they're
Totally.
terrifying as fuck.
Right. Yeah, I think Ultron's a viable like contestant for the battle, but I don't.
But he also falls into the weak sort of Marvel villain category. He's great, and especially if you watch the scene where he sort of gains his conscious.
What is this? What is this, please?
Like, that is really terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
But when you put that towards the idea of the Terminator or the ending of Ex Machina,
Yeah, when she just walks out,
Yeah.
and you know that she is unleashed on the world, and she's just leaving this guy about to slowly starve to death, like trapped, and it's horrible. That's pretty
And if
bad.
I remember correctly, there's a little bit of emotion to Ultron, like he cares that his mission's carried out.
Right.
Whereas if the robot in Ex Machina like fell into a pool, and like she wouldn't give a shit because she's AI.
The worst sequel
But then
ever.
again, she did want to see like people walking on the street. So
Yeah, no, I think there are motivations and caring parts of it. Like Hal, at the end, which is, I think, one of the most horrifying scenes in all of movies, because he's basically being slowly lobotomized in real time.
Mm-hmm.
So Dave's pulling the modules out that control Hal, and he's slowly removing parts of his brain. And Hal just gets like slower and talks slower, and then he starts singing, and he starts saying that he's afraid. So they're definitely feeling it's chilling, right? But in terms of like the representation of it, I almost feel like that the outside challenger wins this time. So it's like we've got superhero and then we've got horror, but sci-fi wins, right? That's why I feel like this one was hard and weird.
Yeah. But for the sake of argument, I would say sci-fi would represent horror side.
I would definitely.
Since superhero has its clear AI.
Yes.
I would say, okay, so I would go with the horror on that one.
Fair enough.
All right. So this one is interesting. So so let's go with this one. This one is sense of mission.
Okay, yeah, this wasn't a power. I actually wanted to talk real quick. Are we done with powers? We're probably done, right?
The only other power we have is manipulating reality, which would be Freddy.
That would be a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because remember, we talked about Dracula doing that amazing Bram Stoker Dracula scene where
That
he's
is,
like, you don't see me.
There's a lot of gelling that.
So let's skip that.
The only last one we would have is shape shifting.
Oh yeah, and animal control. I wanted to talk about that a little bit. So give me the shape-shifting rundown.
Shape-shifting, horror side. The ones that we have written down just to get the ball rolling would be The Thing.
Yes.
Pennywise.
Yes.
And also, as much as I didn't like the film, it's starting to grow me a little bit. I'd say It Follows.
Yes. Okay, horror wins.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what you're going to say next, but
The only episode I can think of is from Batman would be Clayface and Mystique. And
I mean, those are cool.
They're cool, but
come on.
No, I got
right. I know. You're just the Thing and Pennywise are just like
I could try all day. So we'll just give that the horror real quick and move on.
But we can talk. So in terms of like the using animals, kind of like the weather manipulation with creatures, we were talking about. So I don't know. We can't conclude this episode without picking between. I called it jokingly capes and a dark backstory.
Yeah.
But I was basically just doing Batman versus Dracula, right?
Yeah.
And in that case, it's a tie because I can't pick between those two. So don't make me pick between those two. But Batman can control sort of bats.
Well,
with technology.
Yeah, using the sonar.
Right. And Penguin, in both our favorite Batman movie, which is Batman Returns, he actually can control penguins.
Yeah, he puts the little caps on them and puts missiles and shit on them.
But he still has to tech enhance them. But he does control penguins, which is the thing. We had the really interesting case of Catwoman.
Yeah.
Where she's sort of revived by a tribe of cats, at least as is portrayed in the movie, but she doesn't use them for any other purpose.
Yeah. She just kind of takes on the
But she is sort of self-regenerating in a weird way because she has 9 lives.
Well, we were kind of considering like, she's not a zombie, but Selena Kyle does die
And
becomes Catwoman.
Right.
In a sense.
Right.
It's a little stretching it, but I think
no,
that's
but
there.
she's got a lot of horror tropes like hidden away. That she's a really interesting character. So that Batman Returns is just like an interesting.
So if we did,
it's because look at it, it's a mix of superpowers and horror elements, which is ground zero for our subject.
Yeah. So okay, so I was gonna say like, what if we did like a Batman Returns versus. But then again, it's like, which Dracula do you put? Do you put it in the 30s or do you put in Bram Stoker's?
Oh God, yeah. I don't even want to pick between those. That's depressing.
Well, if we had to
both
go, okay, you know what? Let's just go with Bram Stoker's because then we keep it in.
So if I had to pick between Bram Stoker's Dracula and Batman Returns, I am going to pick Batman Returns. Believe it or not.
As much as I know it's funny, I'll tell you every, I'll always be like, what's some of your favorite horror films? I always go Bram Stoker's Dracula and Sleepy Hollow, but you put Batman Returns in this mix,
right?
I gotta go with Batman.
Well,
Returns.
and don't get me wrong, like I'm not only am I a huge fan of Dracula and Bela Lugosi's portrayal of it, but the thing is with this one, first of all, Bela Lugosi. So the Universal Dracula is not my favorite vampire portrayal of all time, right? It's not even close to my favorite Universal horror movie,
Yeah.
right? So I just don't have that big a dog in that fight, right? Because whereas Batman Returns is my favorite Batman movie, so
exactly. So there's more.
It's not, and I'm not talking about which is better, right? I'm just talking which is favorite, right? So in terms of favorite, I would go with that one, but I would never, I can't. I would have to pick Horror of Dracula over Batman Returns. Because I love Christopher Lee's portrayal and Peter Cushing, and it's just that the whole way Hammer took a old tire genre and just defibrillated it, brought it back to life, and just like that's pretty amazing, stuff. So that that's
we're going with representation. So
and then you got to go with Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Overall, I mean, we're still throwing Batman in the game. I think because we're going with representation, I think what comes with representation is the score. And I think Danny Elfman's score for Batman, when I think of Batman, I think of da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, and then the finale song when the penguin dies.
Oh, that's such a good scene.
Yeah, so when it comes to Men in Capes, and
I know that's a hard one.
That's a hard one, but I think I would have to edge it out to Batman, and Batman's he's also dark enough to where it's like I don't feel bad for throwing Drac under the thing because Bruce Wayne's pretty brooding.
Yeah, for sure. But then also remember earlier in this episode we were talking about giving points for irreplaceability. So
yeah.
Although, I mean, they've had multiple portrayals on both sides. But I feel like Christopher Lee's portrayal of Dracula, to me, is a little more interesting than Michael Keaton's portrayal of Batman. Because to me, Batman Returns is more about Christopher Walken and Michelle Pfeiffer and the dynamic between Michelle Pfeiffer and Michael Keaton. But just the solo, Christopher Lee can carry a scene just showing up in the scene by himself. Mm-hmm. Not to mention when he's acting across from Peter Cushing, which is pretty fucking amazing, right?
Oh, yeah, you're right. That puts it different.
But anyway, I'm comfortable calling that a tie. But
yeah, that's Steven. I
think I'm totally fine there. But in terms of the use of animals, to be honest with you, the very first and favorite thing that jumps into my mind is that ridiculously cool rat moment in Bram Stoker's Dracula. I love that scene in that moment. I just love how it was executed and what happened there. And I loved that Dracula, because when you think about the grandeur that character has, but the fact that he sneaks out as 100 rats and they're trying to step on him, and you're thinking to yourself, what part of Dracula are they trying to squish right now?
Yeah.
Is he gonna when he comes back? Is he gonna be missing a pinky finger because they stepped on one of the rats? It's just such a scary, interesting, unexpected, and then Dracula summoning bats and that whole thing. There are great scenes in Batman. Don't get me wrong, where the clouds of bats show up or whatever,
or even when in Returns when the bats come out of the Christmas tree and the model falls off the building. That's a good one. Yeah,
but I'm giving animal manipulation and this having animals serve your evil purposes, I'm giving that to the horror.
Yeah, I'm gonna give that to horror.
All right. So, but and then so these aren't powers, but I wanted to talk a little bit just about some things that are in common with superheroes and the horror genre, like sense of purpose and mission, and maybe the alter ego subject. So,
let's do the sense of mission.
Yes,
I feel like that one's
yeah. This is an interesting one.
I like that one. So the ones that we have mentioned right here is Thanos, with saying that there's a finite amount of resources in the universe, so we are consuming them too quick, so he's going to eliminate half of the universe, versus Jigsaw, which is basically saying you have this life, you don't appreciate it, so I'm going to make you.
Those who don't appreciate life do not deserve life.
Right. Right. Yeah, for sure. And not care about the cost. Right. So, and it's weird when we came up with this. I actually really like the underpinning of Thanos, right? I like that, and I'm talking about my only experience of him, which is the movies. I don't know. I know he's been defeated by Squirrel Girl and whatnot, so I'm not bringing in the comics, right? But in terms of how he was portrayed in Infinity War, I like Josh Brolin's portrayal a lot. I liked the fact that they were able to make that ridiculous glove not ridiculous somehow, and I like that there's fear attached to it. Like, that character is authentically fear-inducing.
Yeah.
And when the other characters respond to him with fear, you believe it.
Yeah.
Right? And he has a lot of those other things going on because of the glove and like whatever. He is manipulating reality and showing you things that aren't there, and he is able to manipulate time and all that stuff. So he has all of those things. But the thing that made it where I'm like, I got to vote for Thanos on this one, I'm going to give it the win to the non-horror side if we're putting Thanos against Jigsaw. And it's only because I don't know how much of Jigsaw's character, and I'm not a Saw expert by any means, but I don't know how much of Jigsaw's character is the Doc Holliday effect, right? So like Doc Holliday, like the way he's portrayed in Tombstone or whatever, he gives zero fucks because he gives zero fucks, but he also gives zero fucks because he's terminally ill.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's easier to give zero fucks when you're terminally ill than not. Thanos isn't terminally ill. He takes up the mission voluntarily.
Yep.
Right? And carries it through regardless of the cost to him because he believes in it. Right? He's a true believer in his own mission. The way he's portrayed. And I don't know what Jigsaw's up to other than now I'm terminally ill, so I'm going to do this. And there's so many plot threads in that franchise that I'm sure there's an iteration of Jigsaw that was doing this before he discovered he was ill. But I don't know. I feel like it's sort of a cop-out. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And in terms of scope and the end of the mission, I think Thanos makes more sense because he even says, he even has a testimonial that the place where Gamora,
his original home planet, right?
Yeah, well, the place where I think he said there, I think it was where Gamora went. He's like, now there's children there.
There's two examples. The bad example is his home planet went to shit.
Yeah, because
they overused the resources.
And then when he's talking to Gamora at the throne,
he's like, "Look, I killed half your people, and now your place is a paradise."
Yeah, he's like, They don't know what an empty stomach feels like.
But it's this Jigsaw. Like
but Jigsaw didn't have someone go, "Thank God he cut my arm off."
He does. Everyone he put in a saw trap seemingly ends up joining his team.
Yeah, but they're not super thrilled about it.
No, they are thrilled about it. They absolutely are thrilled about it. They're absolutely appreciative of the fact that he's shown them that there's a way to live life where you actually appreciate life and you're not just going through the motions of walking through life. That's kind of his deal. Like, so I feel like that part's a tie. The thing that is
I don't know. I have not seen Jigsaw's LinkedIn with points in leadership.
I'm telling you, man, Amanda is like, she's loyal, down for the cause. Like, he's not making
But he drove her there. Like she wouldn't have knowingly been like, you know what? I see your point. I get that. Like, he had to really screw her up to get to that point.
All right, let's come at this from another angle. Let me give you a counter way to look at it. Jigsaw isn't lonely. At least my understanding of Jigsaw isn't lonely. He may have like an interior part where he's like, I'm a genius, no one understands, no one gets me, no one really, like, whatever. But I mean, I swear to God, this guy's running seminars with his disciples. Like, you do this, and then you do this move. Like Thanos, the last time I saw him in a movie, he's sitting like on a cliff eating a Hot Pocket, like relaxing alone, right? Exactly. He's on a truly, truly lonely mission, right? So I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna give points to the non-horror side just from the standpoint that he's more committed. There's more of an impact from it when it's over. Mm-hmm. And the only thing I don't like about that portrayal is I don't like that it's dependent on getting those ridiculous stones, whereas Jigsaw just kind of makes it happen with the power of his own mind and cleverness. So I would give him points for the fact that he makes it happen out of his own brain. Whereas Thanos is like, he makes it happen with his brain, but his brain is telling him, I got to go collect these colored stones and like whatever. I don't like that intermediate step. I'm still giving it to Thanos though, whatever.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it to Thanos. I've always had a problem with Jigsaw. Just like the whole like you failed to kill yourself, and then all of a sudden you're like, I get it now. Like that's on you. Live the rest of your life happy. You don't need to tell me. I can live in misery. Mm-hmm. I choose misery. I don't need you to be like, it's all sunshine and rainbows. Like, mind your own goddamn business, Jigsaw. Jesus Christ. He's the kind of guy that stands behind you at McDonald's and goes, you should try the number 7. I'm like, fuck you. I don't like that. You bitch.
Oh my God, the number 7's like a helmet that wrenches your jaw.
It's probably like a fish fillet or something. Some gross
The fish
shit.
fillet's the saw trap of
It's the salt trap of McDonald's items.
Good to know.
I want to play a game. You like tartar sauce? Nope. I'm out. Those would drive off the cliff and finish what you couldn't. You suck.
Yeah, except for if that's true, then like I would get a fish sandwich secretly and then secretly be working with the fish fillet on the side. Then you discover 100 episodes into our podcast that I'm actually on the side of the fish fillet. Sorry. Hopefully that's not how this ends.
I'm debating on whether or not I actually like fish. So I guess it all depends.
Well, there's 2 of us, so if Thanos snaps his fingers, this podcast goes down to 1 anyway.
Well, it's a lottery, so we could either one of us could be screwed. So.
I actually, and you know, there was. I got to give credit to, you know, one of the things that makes the horror genre my favorite is that a lot of times you can register the impact on the people watching it. It's way more fun to have like a viewing party with a horror movie than most any other genres, right?
Yeah.
Because you're watching it scare the crap out of people and it affect them and rattle them and whatever. And I saw a lot of rattled people after Infinity War.
That is true.
I felt like it was kind of accomplishing a variant of the same process, which I'm going to give it credit for. So
yeah, Thanos broke hearts.
Yeah,
he didn't have to put your hand in a buzzsaw or something like that. So all right, we give that to Thanos.
All right, so horror one, I think more than not.
So let me just go through the list real quick right here. So we went Telekinesis. You give it to Carrie. Here, I'll do track for superhero. You do track for horror.
Okay.
So 1-1. All right, and then we did metal, and we both give that to Magneto. So then we'll do.
It's non-horror.
Non-horror. Fire went to horror.
Okay, 2-1.
Self-healing went 1-1.
Okay, still tied.
Anger transformation both went to Hulk.
Okay, non-horror. Now it's 2-2.
Alien or AI went to horror.
3-2.
Sense of mission.
Thanos. 3-3.
And then shape shifting. Does that count? Are we doing shape shifting?
We didn't really do that.
Okay, so then.
But weather manipulation went to horror.
Went to horror.
So 4-3. Horror 1-1.
Horror 1-1.
All right. That makes sense.
Horror 1-1 in the ones I didn't expect it to win.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I do totally know what you mean.
So yeah, like with Fire, I was like, comic books got that in the bag, son, and then they don't. They actually don't.
And they don't. Right?
They actually don't.
Because horror's got George C. Scott.
That's true. That's all you really need.
True, very well.
They should have put
so amazing, but I'm glad it was close for our first one because I didn't want horror to be dominant all the time and every.
And doing superpowers with superhero films seems like just a surefire way for them to win.
Absolutely.
So,
and Freddy's my superhero anyway, so
yeah, we didn't even get. And that's the thing is, there's so many more superpowers.
Yeah, we'll probably revisit the topic because there's a lot of jelly in that donut, as you like.
Yeah.
As you like to say. As a matter of fact, now that I mentioned Freddy, I'm like doing glove versus glove in my head, like Thanos' Infinity Glove versus. But I mean, there's a lot to cover because there's a lot with There's a subcategory of horror fans who don't even recognize non-supernatural horror as horror.
Yeah.
Right? They're the ones walking around who are like, Jaws isn't horror, Silence of the Lambs isn't horror, all this isn't horror. If it doesn't have a demon or a paranormal or occult or some kind of element, they don't even think of it really as horror, right?
Yeah.
There's even a group of horror fans that I've met that I strongly disagree with who don't even think things like The Strangers is horror, right? They think of it as a dark thriller or whatever, right? So, but that group of fans definitely is a group of fans that looks at horror as filled with superheroes and supervillains.
Yeah.
Right? And it was interesting to start to think of who actually has what power. Right? Because like you said, it's still baffling to this moment, like what power Jason has.
Yeah.
Jason can definitely regenerate, but I mean, or Freddy for that matter, right?
Yeah.
Like Jason, Freddy versus Jason, Freddy is literally ahead at the end of that movie.
Yeah.
Right.
So
he's going to have to do a lot of regeneration unless that was a dream. So,
and again, that itself is a superpower. So, and then I guess if you had to do like dreams or mind manipulation, I would somehow put dreams under mind manipulation a little bit because it's in your head, which I would then go with Mantis in Infinity War when she dropped on top of Thanos' head and she was like reading his memories and stuff. So that's
Freddy.
Yeah, but Freddy's definitely going to win. But I'm just saying, like that's how crazy. These horror characters with superpowers.
So interesting, but I love that we're gonna. I'm looking forward to the next horror versus we do, and if anyone has suggestions for us to pit the horror genre against other things, hit us up on our Facebook page, comment or message us at Hello Weekly. We'd be really curious. We're taking suggestions for new episodes, so let us
absolutely. And head on over to iTunes, give us a 5-star review, hit subscribe, go to Spotify, hit the green button, hit follow. And until next time, watch a bunch of horror movies and stay scary.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.